Alright, we are going to begin this evening with a public hearing. Purpose of the public hearing is to hear discussion on a withdrawal from the Facilities Repair Trust Fund for maintenance projects of approximately $72,000. Are there any public comments on the withdrawal from the Facilities Repair Trust Fund?
Could you spell it out to us, what the money's going to be used
for?
Sure.
This is specifically, this bulk of money is towards replacing all of the lighting in the building with LED lighting. There's a 2 to 3 year, three and a half year return on recouping the entire cost and reduced electric costs to the community. Dan, if you stick around, can talk to it a little bit. Any other questions? All right. Hearing no other questions, I will adjourn the public meeting, or public hearing, excuse me, and call to order the regular school board meeting. Ask if you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. The minutes of April 15th, May 1st, and May 15th.
I would move to table. I'll second that.
Okay. There are some edits that need to be continued and leave in draft form until our next meeting. Everybody okay with that?
I'm okay with that.
All in favor of tabling?
Aye.
Public comments.
If no one else, Kevin Grobel, 9 McCarran Road. Reviewing a bridge, a weekly bridge, I don't know, probably maybe a month ago now, I was sort of surprised to read that the Curriculum Review Board was going to start taking under its consideration assessments in school. I think everybody in the room probably knows I'm a long outspoken critic of Common Core State Standards, previously the Smarter Balanced Assessment Test, and now the new statewide assessment test. I was surprised that the Curriculum Review Board would take that up, because it was the opinion of many of the school board members currently sitting that there was 3 silos of curriculum, instruction, and assessment. They were independent, really didn't go meshing, and curriculum wasn't instruction, wasn't assessment. And now to have the Curriculum Review Board morph into assessments kind of took me by surprise, especially considering that a while back the SAU, in its wisdom, chose to hire a director of curriculum instruction and assessment. So it would seem that function would probably be better done under the auspices of the quote-unquote highly trained professional we hired to address those issues, which I was also a little surprised to find that DCS wasn't in conformance with the RSA on patriotic purposes. And I would suggest perhaps it should be communicated to the director that one of the priorities might be to look in to make sure that our curriculum aligns with the few curriculum items that are actually defined by RSA, right? Those should probably be the first priority. And I know you guys are aware of it. I sent an email out. I also was happy to see the notification in the bridge about assessment, the statewide assessment coming up, and that we're finally all crystal clear that parents have the right of refusal or opt-out. We don't have to mince words anymore, right? We're not playing that semantic game. But we now know it's crystal clear in law that parents can refuse their kids' participation. So I was glad to see that the notice went out. I was very happy to see that the district adopted the forms called for under the RSA. I was a little disappointed we didn't choose to attach that one-page form onto the bridge. Instead, we instructed parents that may be interested to go try to ferret it out somewhere on either the school or the SAU website. I don't recall now where it is. Because the bridge is basically electronic, it costs nothing. And not only is it clear in the RSA finally that we have the right to refuse, but also it's now very clear, crystal clear, no ambiguity, that there's no penalty to the school, there's no penalty to the district, there's no penalty to the SAU for students that may choose to opt out. Of course, there's never been a penalty, right? We all know that, but we pretended like we didn't sometimes. But now we know that crystal clear. So in fact, we could have 100% opt-out, and then there would still be no penalty, because we're still, that assessment is still a very long, time-consuming assessment. Not only that, we're still spending time, considerable amount of possible instructional time, prepping kids to take the assessment. So years in, because it's not just third graders with their first go-around. We're doing this across grades. In fact, I've refused my kids' participation since they got, sort of over the age to participate in it. My kids were encouraged to participate in the training, if you will, of how to take the test, and simply to not log in as who they are, but just sort of as a guest or whatever. And I got to admit that bothered me. To hear that they were doing that bothered me, because I thought our refusal was an alpha to omega type refusal. I was surprised to hear that. Hopefully it won't happen again next year. But I think we should really add that form, one-page form, onto the bridge, send it home to parents, let them know what their legal rights and obligations are, so that they can not only make an informed decision, but they don't have to do subsequent steps to potentially achieve that.
Any additional public comments? Agenda review. The only thing I would suggest is, since Mr. Holdridge is here, maybe we could consider discussing the LED project before we get into curriculum presentations. Probably won't take us long. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Is there anything else to add?
Yes, under number 10, appointments and resignations, we have 2 items.
Anything else anybody wants to change? So that being said, we entertain a discussion in regards to the LED project. So Dan, I know that in the original RFP we put out and in the bid that you guys submitted to, there's grant monies that offset this, and can you talk through? There's been a change.
Sure. So when we originally started this project, just to give you the idea of the scope, there's 560 LED 2x4 flat panels. There's 14 175 watt high bays, 6 LED 55 watt wall packs for outside. I mean, we literally went through the entire building. 22 LED 2x2s, 105 4-foot LED wraps, and just assorted others. In addition, providing lighting over the bleacher areas in the gym, as well as providing the power and additional lighting in bathrooms. So there was 4 additional lights. So to give you, it's a large scope. So when we originally proposed this project, we do a lot of these. We're based out of Rhode Island, so we do a lot with Eversource in Connecticut. And so we contacted Eversource and said, hey, we've got this project here in New Hampshire, Deerfield Community School. They said, terrific. We'll go ahead and send you the application. They're one of our clients. So they sent us the application. And so we completed it. We had Amanda Wheeler, she completed, or Amber, excuse me, she completed her part, and we submitted it formally. They reviewed it. And then when they came back 2 weeks later, they said, we no longer want to do this project. We're going to kick it to New Hampshire Electrical Co-op. In all of our years doing this, never happened before. They literally took our application and crossed out the word Eversource and wrote NHEC, New Hampshire Electrical Co-op. We've never seen that before. So wouldn't be an issue, except the fact that New Hampshire Electrical Co-op caps their rebate amount at $30,000 for any project. So that's the maximum. Eversource doesn't have a cap. So when Eversource told us that they were okay with selecting the school as a project, we utilized all of their numbers, their rebate numbers, everything to make everything happen. So it was going to be a savings of, I believe it was $40,155. Now the rebate can only be a cap of $30,000. So that difference, which I have here, means that the previous amount due after the Eversource rebate was going to be $71,974.63. The new amount after the New Hampshire Electrical Co-op rebate is $82,129.63. That takes into consideration both those options. One was the option of the additional lighting in the gym and the additional bathroom lighting, which was pretty small in comparison. Good news, the return on the investment is still being calculated at approximately 3-year time frame. It's exactly 3.12 years of your estimated return on your investment, with an estimated savings on the energy of $17,596 annually you're going to save on your electric bill from just the lighting. And maintenance costs will be $8,733 annually, because you'll never have to change another light bulb, and you won't have to change ballasts. And these fixtures here are not, a lot of them are not brand new, so you'd have to swap out fixtures in a lot of cases. So with those assumptions, it's a savings of $26,330 annually. So if you take that number and you just multiply it by your 3.12, you get the total amount. So after that 3.12 years, you guys will be recouping the $26,000 a year annually. So in a 10-year span, your savings are estimated at $263,304. It's significant. In my opinion, it's a no-brainer. But obviously, we're at your discretion. So I'm happy to answer any questions. I can guarantee you that the lighting levels in this room here will be significantly better. If you're familiar with LED lighting, maybe you're not, there's a big change between fluorescent bulbs and LED lighting. Fluorescent bulbs work on what's called watts. Everyone's heard of watts. Those lights there are probably 30 to 40 watts each. When you put in and you have what, two lamps in there, so you multiply that by 2, and sometimes it's 4. With LED lighting for the same panel, it's around average 32 watts for the entire panel. Plus, there's no changing bulbs out, and there's no changing ballasts out. There's none of that anymore. So you save significantly on those costs. The lifespans are significantly longer as well. So it's a very good investment. But I'm happy to answer any questions and tell you more about the lighting if you need.
Any questions?
Have you heard back from the co-op that they approve the 30?
They do. I do have their signatures on that letter, so it is approved for the $30,000.
So they've approved the full 30K?
Yep. So they have approved it, and I've sent all this to Ms. Wheeler there, and so she has all that information.
So, based on the way the public notice was written, it said approximately 72,000. So we do have the flexibility to make a motion for the revised amount if we wanted to do that. So, are there any other questions at this point?
The only other question I have is, in the bid we had bonding written into the bid, which we carry the cost of, maybe. Yeah, so we require the bond, but we pay for it, although it's your bond, correct?
Correct. So a performance bond. If you're not familiar in the construction industry, we have them it guarantees that the work is performed. So if for some reason our company shut down halfway through, you wouldn't be caught with a bill. The insurance company would pick up the tab and carry it through. We've been in business for over 35 years now, and bonds are typically a waste of money if you have a company that's been there for a long haul. And the size of this project is pretty insignificant. in the big picture, for at least for our company. The cost of the bond is $2,578. We don't mark it up, but that's a cost that if you wanted to retain that, you could save that right off the top and take $2,578 off that $82,000 figure, and then you'd be ahead by that amount. So you're welcome to do that now, either way.
So basically 80,000. Straight over.
Yeah.
Thoughts on that? On the pond? Or
The whole
Can I
thing.
ask a question?
Sure.
No.
Oh, sorry. I'm too friendly, sorry.
I don't know if that's helpful. I just came up with an idea. What are the thoughts on from the board?
I mean, it's my opinion is it still makes sense to go forward with the project. The savings in the long haul are there. It's unfortunate that PSNH and Eversource don't. Eversource and the co-op.
In New Hampshire, that's co-op.
I keep calling it PSNH and whatever, but the co-op and Eversource don't necessarily follow the same guidelines. But the project's still going to pay for itself. It's savings for the town in the long haul. It's less burden on the grid. It seems to make sense to me all the way around. It's one less thing for us to maintain.
It's not such a significant change that we want to pull the plug on the project and then you decide to run control pretty much because of that change.
Right.
So I understand.
What is the thing it's worth? Okay, so what does the board feel about the bonding?
I mean, I think we're fine without it. It brings us closer to the number we were originally anticipating.
How long will this work take?
This should be done by the start of school. I think that was in the original
Yeah,
RFP.
I literally need to order the lights as soon as we get green lights here, so I can start as soon as it.
Because it
gets
would
out.
take 2 months, is what you're saying?
It depends on the delivery of the lights.
Okay.
And so I've tried to get as many of the lights as stocked items, so we could just swap out the majority of them. But I just don't know the full boat yet. Until we pull a trigger, some of the manufacturers won't give us. It's usually 4 to 6 weeks, but
So we need to act.
we need to. Yeah.
My question is about the bond, though. Is it possible? Is that a big enough window that things will potentially?
So the bond doesn't guarantee work done in a specific amount of time. It guarantees that the work gets done.
Okay.
So it's basically saying Jan's company isn't, if it goes out of business.
They send somebody else in.
Right.
Flip side of that is this isn't either the fixture is going to be in the hole, the new fixture is going to be in the hole, or the old fixture is going to be in the hole, but there's going to be a fixture in the hole. So, I mean, you're not going to strip the entire building of lights, you're going to room by room.
In addition, we'd be putting a Connex box outside, and we would have all the fixtures there. So you would literally have all the materials here. So that's the bulk of the cost.
What happens to the old fixtures? Though? You guys
So we have to recycle them properly. So we put in our bid to, you've got every fluorescent bulb has to be properly disposed of, and then the ballasts have to be removed and properly disposed of as well. So per New Hampshire law.
The 3-year number, the 3.12 number, is predicated on the idea that these lights will last for a really long time.
No,
No.
it's predicated on electrical savings and
Yes.
the cost to maintain.
Okay, I said that wrong. The ongoing over 10 year, you gave us a 10-year $260,000 number or something like
Yep.
that. That's what I was talking about. Which sounds good. I guess the question is how, and this is more of a question for the industry. How it strikes me that LED lights are still fairly new. Have any of them actually reached that point where we know how long they're going to last? Is it possible that we're only 6 years into this thing, and actually after year 7 they're all going to start to die, and so therefore it turns out that we were wrong. You're going to have to replace them all in 7 years.
On average, from what the industry says, these lights are good for 25 years.
Yeah.
They'll warranty them for 5 years on minimum, and based on which ones that you guys select, which we put a submittal package in, will determine how long the warranty, but it's at least 5 years.
Okay.
And so you'll more than recoup at that point, but on average, the industry says 25 years for these lights. So I mean, we've been installing these for a lot longer than 6 years.
Okay.
So, I mean, I gotta tell you, the quality of light, I mean, you guys will see it instantly. It makes things look brand new. And the way LED lighting works, it's an LED, it's a light emitting diode. So it's not like a light like this where you basically get 30% light from a fluorescent bulb because it's all reflective. LED lighting shoots everything out 100%. So you literally can get away with sometimes less light, less LED lighting. But in this situation, say like in here, I'm just looking around, it's so high up, you're going to have a much brighter, and you're going to actually, as crazy as it sounds, you're going to have happier staff. I know this may sound crazy, but we swapped out recently a doctor's office, and they literally said their staff, I was like, well, that's a neat new thing for me. Their staff is happier because it's not as dark as a room, darkening lighting. And when it's a brighter lighting, it gives you a feeling of more energy. And so it's very good in that regard too.
Do LEDs, I know fluorescents cycle.
I'm sorry?
Fluorescents are running on a cycle. They're on off, right?
It hurts, right?
Do LEDs, is it just a constant light?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. It's like you're turning on a computer and you're on. And then also the energy savings are so crazy that you're going to see probably other areas where if you wanted to improve things after 3 years, you'll now have funds to toss towards that, just based on the savings that you're getting from the light. It's a great thing.
So does the board want to make a motion, or I would entertain a motion to include the bonding, or if we wanted to make a motion that didn't include the bonding, it'd be about $80,000.
So I'll move that we increase the amount by 8,000.
We haven't made a motion yet, so this is an initial motion. So
Well, we had a motion before for 72K.
So tonight is about withdrawing the funds from the trust.
Okay.
So I think you want to
This
make
is
the
the
motion
specific-
to come up
This is
to
the specific,
withdraw.
okay, so I'll move that we withdraw $80,000 from the facilities repair fund for the LED lighting improvement project.
Do you want to add with or without bonding?
Yeah, that should be clarified.
Without bond.
Just
So I
a
guess I
second.
was doing it with the math.
Yeah. Okay, discussion.
I'm fine with that.
Any questions? You good?
I think so. I remember the discussion from before about the lighting.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
You have the green light.
Great, thank you.
All right, we will now move back to our regular agenda and the technology curriculum.
Well, thank you for having me, everyone.
No, you're good. Thank you, Dan.
Thank you.
I'll help her out. If you want to go ahead.
So I have copies of the curriculum. I do want to thank you for having me here tonight. As you can see, I'm having an issue. So it's getting better. When I was trying to figure out what to do today, I had no voice at all, and I'm afraid that if I keep talking, it's going to go away again. So I'm not going to keep talking, but I have solved my problem with technology. And I know this is completely non-traditional, but I got an avatar and I recorded an avatar, so tonight I'm British, and I speak very articulately. So there's 7 different sections of this, so at the end of each section, if you have a question, just raise your hand and I can probably answer, or my partner cook can help answer as well. So what we're going through, what you'll see is the document in front of you.
my voice is not working, so I thought I would do this. I hope this isn't too horrible. But it was really important for me to present my curriculum tonight. I think I can answer some questions at the end with my real voice. The format I used for this curriculum was provided as a template from Quizmoteca. Much of the information came from work that the Technology Committee had compiled over the past year. I am going to go through the parts that are specific to technology. The other areas are the same on all the curriculum, like mission statement and competency-based education. We will start with the technology and integration rationale. Technology is prevalent in all of us and around the world. Our children need to be prepared to compete in a global market and follow their desired career dreams. To be college and career ready, students need experience with digital tools to solve complex problems, analyze data, create original projects, collaborate, and communicate effectively. The necessity to be digitally literate is imperative. The focus of the Deerfield Community Schools Integrated Technology Program is to enable every child to acquire and demonstrate the necessary skills needed to succeed in our ever-changing world. An important cornerstone of this curriculum is digital citizenship. This is being safe, protecting personal data, establishing credibility, and balancing screen time with other activities. Then the document describes technology at our school, our one-to-one program for 5th through 8th grades, availability of Chromebooks for the other grades, as well as using G Suite and other cross-curricular digital tools. We also have access to 3D printing, coding, robotic, and more STEM-stimulated curriculum. I will skip over the competency-based education description to the essential conditions for technology. These are taken from the national standards from the International Society for Technology Integration, or ISTE. This includes descriptions of the shared vision for technology in the school and community, effective use of digital resources and curriculum, ongoing funding for infrastructure and professional development, equitable access, and technical support. DCS will provide equitable access and student-centered learning for the needs and abilities of all students. Continuing on to technology integration, recognizing that technology is multidisciplinary by nature and has applications in any environment, our curriculum seeks to promote academic success by embedding technology tools and applications into the teaching and learning process rather than attempting to teach skills in isolation. When technology integration is at its best, a child or a teacher doesn't stop to think that he or she is using a technology tool. It is second nature. And students are often more actively engaged in projects when technology tools are a seamless part of the learning process. Report cards reflect the use of technology in the classroom. The grade spans are K2, 3 to 5, and 6 to 8. This is outlined in the scope and sequence. The digital portfolio is a collection of students' work using technology and is scored in 5th and 8th grades. Core technology standard is students will demonstrate the productive and responsible use of digital tools. The standard indicators come from NIST. There are 7 of them and encompass a wide range of technology skills without being specific to a digital tool. It provides a wide area for understanding digital literacy. Empowered learner, students take an active role in using digital tools to create, access, and design their learning plan. Digital citizen, students understand the rights and responsibilities of a digital world and act in a safe, legal and ethical manner. Knowledge constructor, students select, evaluate and use digital resources for their work. Innovative designer, students can solve problems with new solutions using a variety of tools. Computational thinker, students identify problems, work with data and use a multi-step process to create solutions. Creative communicator, students can communicate effectively and express themselves using different tools, styles, formats, and digital media. Global collaborator, students use digital tools to broaden their perspectives, understand others, and work effectively in teams locally and globally. This is followed by IQ statements and rubrics for the grade spans. The rubric includes the standard indicator as well as what is needed for the portfolio. The portfolio also has a separate rubric which is geared for the organization of the portfolio. Then we move on to the scope and sequence. This is a rather massive document and will be hard to see on the screen. O is for optional coverage of the topic depending on the class. I is for introductory, R is for reinforcing, and M is mastery. The skills are built on age appropriateness and scaffold up in complexity as the students progress in ability. There are two ways to look at this chart. I have divided the topics by digital literacy categories and by the ISTE standards and outlined the skills. At the bottom of this spreadsheet, I also broke this down into the ISTE standards. With the help of Barbara Cook, who assisted me with the document, and as a teacher who takes an active role in technology, we can take questions.
So I think that the ideas in there are great, and seeing or thinking about our kids doing that is exciting. My question is my understanding is that there's not a technology class, like you were saying, it's integrated into classrooms, into other curricula. Does that mean that the main gist of my question is that I like the philosophy here, but in terms of reality, what does it actually practically look like? So do individual teachers, do they evaluate some of these standards for you? Do you only evaluate it, or are you doing evaluating both through the portfolio, and that's only twice over the course of 8 years?
It's more integrated than all of that. So let me see if I can get the first part first. If it's a skill that the teacher is uncomfortable teaching or needs prompting and me getting it through, I can go into the classroom and teach it. It's also what we're hopefully will be able to do in our STEM lab over here, is if there's a skill that transfers over and can cover a lot, we can introduce it here, and then they'll have it when they go back to the classroom. And I've done that a lot in Barbara's class, where I can come in, teach them something, and then they're off and running on it, and Barbara can take over with the content and with the academic part of that. The second part was the teacher really evaluates the technology skills that are used in the classroom for part of it. Those transfer into the portfolio. The portfolio is graded in 5th grade and 8th grade. We've just got done with this process. I would like to see my role more as being able to focus in on classes that are, let's say they're missing, like, digital citizenship is a good one. There's no time where digital citizenship has been mastered. It is one of those things where we have to be, it changes so fast, it gets more serious, there are different things that come up, and, you know, if we can weave that into more classes, so if I'm coming in just to teach a skill, I can throw digital citizenship in there as well. A lot of the tools they use in the middle school, even though they're not technology teachers, they really are good about getting everything in. The hard learner, many of the tools they use fit right into that perfectly. And I really want to be able to give them, all the teachers, grades K through 8, you know, if you need help fulfilling, an innovative designer is a hard one, and a lot of robotics kind of things can fit into that. I'm not expecting, you know, Barbara to do robotics, although I bet she totally would. Well, she's good. But that's something that I can deliver here. Also, Barbara does like floor planner in her classroom, which is all about innovative designers. So it's more of an integrated effort between myself and the teacher, depending on their skill and what they're trying to do with their classroom. So I want to make it seamless. There's always bumps and there's always ways I can do it better. And it also depends on their class. Some kids just really have the skills already and just need to be coached into the right direction. Where other times it's a whole new tool that's, you know, new to all of us, and we all have to learn it together. So I can just definitely step into that and be this, you know, the support, the coach in the classroom, so we can go both ways.
So do these standards appear on the report card?
They're going to be this year, yeah. Right now they've been grading off of that one standard, the responsible use demonstrates productive and responsible use. Over the summer, Chris Matika is going to be putting in the performance indicators as to go with that.
Okay. And that'll be K to 8?
Yeah, they're K through 2 doesn't have all of them, and then they scaffold out. So, you know, they start with keyboarding in 2nd grade now, and that is part of the Empowered Learner. Called the digital citizen. They start to do research, which is knowledge indicator. So, you know, while it's age appropriate, they start to build all 7 of them. Certainly 6, 7, and 8 do all of them, and it's just about where the mastery comes in for them.
Speaking for myself, I have plenty of students who are way ahead of me when it comes to this.
Yeah.
I would imagine the same is true even here, where you've got 2nd or 3rd graders who probably are more confident with some of these skills than some of our teachers. Do you feel like there is time for you to work with teachers? Is there, if a teacher feels a need, or even if, is there a way, is that ability to support the teachers in this available in the schedule
I think
during
it
the day?
has for this year, and I think for the next year we're going to be doing a lot more professional development. I really want teachers to demonstrate things that they have done to the staff. And we were just talking about that in our technology committee today. You know, maybe simple things, and then I can introduce something to a couple teachers, and they can present it to the staff. And I'm talking maybe a 2 or 3 minute, this is how you do it, kind of thing. And if they need more support, then I have the time to go do that to their classroom. Plus, I can always use my little tool here that I can just be in the classroom without being there.
Your minion?
My minions.
Your minions. Scatter them around the building.
Any other questions?
Need to approve?
Sure.
I'll move to approve the technology curriculum as presented.
Second?
Any additional discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right. Yeah, please. Consent items. We have 5. Are these some of these in non-public, or?
I think they're all. I think you might actually have 6 because we do have one for non-public. But I think you also had 5 if I counted them correctly from the facilities quotes that Mike got. So that was what they all were.
Okay. What does he got?
We had asked him to get multiple bids, and we gave those out last time, and we were going to take action this time. So I don't know if Brian or Kristen may know if Mike had did he indicate a preference on any of these, or did, like, for the instance, for the hot water heater, one of them was 16,840 and one of them was 15,721.
Yep, the hot water heater is always going with RTH for 12.6.
Okay, so are we drawing this from the trust fund, or is this?
This would be approved and then there'd be another hearing from the trust fund, or are we pulling this off? Existing
Fund
funds?
balance.
Are these already?
These,
Oh,
I thought these were.
There was another, actually, there was another list.
Where's that 51,000 Zach?
I saw it earlier.
Yes, I did too.
I'm sorry.
So Amber gave you, it was a separate packet, that's fine. It was a stapled packet from Amber.
From Amanda, there it is. So,
Spelled out what was already approved.
yeah, so we approved 51,740 back in January. And that would have been for cleaning of the duct work, emergency well work, water testing, some septic work, striping and line painting, repairing some flush valves, roof repairs, some heating system software, and a server replacement for the heating and the stairwell treads. So actually, can I ask a different question first? What's been done? Has the stairwell treads been done? Actually,
No, because
there's
those are
a
on
bid
the
in
thing.
here.
there's a bid in here, so that money's already been approved.
Yep,
So it's just choosing the vendor.
it's been in deck tech, it's
Working schedule.
Okay, so that one, so we don't need to take that one up then, correct?
there were three, you had asked for 3 bids, and deck tech is the one that ended up,
So did Mike already make the decisions on all of these?
on the, you're talking about the hot water? Nope, none on those, the deck tech was,
So the flooring's done.
Okay, so he's already,
Okay, so we already approved the flooring.
We approved the funding for the
For the flooring.
We've gotten bids, then we should choose one of the bids. Because it's over $5,000, right?
right, and we had 3 bids, that one
We got
was
3
deck tech.
quotes.
Three quotes.
Sorry,
Three quotes.
Deck tech, the other one was Ed's Flooring America, and the third one was Empire.
And Mike is recommending deck tech.
Alright, so I move to approve the proposal for the stair treads for the amount of $19,440 to deck tech.
To come from where?
Well, we've already approved the money from facilities repair.
Facilities repair
Yes.
fund.
That was done back here.
This is.
Oh, it was in that?
Yeah.
This is just
Oh, yeah, right
months
there.
later.
So I'm
Gotcha.
just cleaning up
Yes, thank
loose
you.
ends.
I'll second that.
All right, any discussion on a motion to approve $19,440 to deck tech for the replacement of the stair treads? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
And then all this other work has been done. All of it.
So, I know the Honeywell stuff was done, the heating, so the stairs were the last item, the 2 items prior to that were complete. The roof repairs and inspection, we had a leaking roof just recently, we had trash cans collecting water.
Yep.
No more leaks?
We just had, people have been out to look at it, and it was an ice stamp that they collected, and there was,
We're not leaking. Okay. The flush valves were repaired.
is that on, yes.
Yellow lines haven't been done yet. Have they?
We haven't done any line striping yet, correct?
Yes, lines were done.
They were done.
Yeah, Exeter, they didn't out their fault.
It's all,
Yeah.
okay.
Okay.
I mean, they were done back in the fall, so it might look like they,
Okay.
you know.
The LED lighting, obviously, that's been hijacked. Okay.
Yeah, this LED lighting here was work that Mike did on the outside. He bought the materials from us. He did the labor on just replacing that.
Alright. And then the kitchen duct cleaning and the well work and all that stuff was done. Done. Okay.
And the server is done?
Done. Okay. Thank you.
So we are at the point where we have used up the approved funds for the public hearing.
Now we have with the deck tank.
Now, yes. So we are now into whether or not we want to deal with the water heater and stuff off of the existing balance, or if we want to do another hearing and pull it off and prepare the trust fund.
Do we know the trust fund balance?
It will be
75?
another 150 on.
No,
That's
75.
That's on Amber's sheet too. She did the spreadsheet that you asked her to do. She gave you the balances at the bottom and then the 51,000 that's pending. So the transfers to.
So the estimated total is 284. We just spent 80 effectively, so we've got 200K to work with. Correct?
Yes.
Okay. The 75K isn't going in. The 75K
Is June 31st.
this is another
July 1st.
another 75K going in July 1st. Right. So we're really 275,000 as of July 1.
Yes.
There, in that fund. We've historically wanted to keep somewhere in that 200K range for a roof.
160 was the number.
160, that number we've been using for a while, so it's probably not as accurate as it once was.
Yeah.
160, 180, 200, somewhere in that ballpark. So we have,
So, Gene, what we do is we try to keep a fund balance there for like the biggest cost, second item that we picked up, which is the roof things. So we try not to go below that. There's nothing requiring us to keep at that level, but that's just been the
comfort level.
Yeah.
Not this March, but the previous March. How much was approved? 150,000.
Yes.
So we're with this 51 we were just talking about, and the 80 for the lights. That's close to having spent that.
Yes.
Okay.
And then there's another 75 going in
Okay.
on July 1st. So we'll be 280 grand.
Yeah. So the
Is this the time to talk about the year end so you know where you're.
did everybody want to hear where we are at with rear end?
I think part of this discussion is what do we have where are our funds right now? So I think that would be part of this. Yes, Jim. Thank you.
So I'm not sure if you've had a chance to read it. I know it just was just given to you, but Amber prepared a memo for you. She went through, and this is obviously still preliminary because we have some funds that will still be some invoices outstanding for like special education. Some of the POs from your last approvals are not in yet. We might get more revenues in, but with all that said, the estimate right now, including $100,000 in anticipated revenue, excess is $636,000.
In that 636, we're going to be putting 189 back from last year's retainage.
So you have 189 retained, so that would get added to that and then taken out again if you voted to
And then what we
that
retain.
constant. Yeah.
So it could be like a zero gain type of situation,
Yes.
or it could be
Yes.
we retain a smaller amount and increase that fund balance.
Okay. So we have going through Mike's things, which were on the agenda. The plumbing. There was some question last time about how many bathrooms he was going to do. Is that cleared up, Kristen? How many? Okay, I'm tired too. How many bathrooms Mike was going to tackle?
Just the one.
Just one. Okay.
With what we presented.
For $2,300.
And then he'll start paying out the other ones.
We can draw that off. We could do it through the Building and Repair Trust Fund, or we could do it out of the surplus. Either way.
I think the other question was, does it make sense? Does Mike, I think the other question from the last meeting was, does Mike have the time to do all the summer stuff He's gonna have a contractor in here replacing lights, he's gonna have other work going on and do that bathroom and get everything else done with the staff he has and the amount of time he has? Or should we hire it out and contract them out?
Just remind you of one thing, that if you're going to use this year's funds, it has to be contract. You have to have a contract or someone underway before June 30th.
Right.
So if you're not going to be able to do that, it should be coming out of the trust. But if he's going to do the labor and he can get all this stuff ordered and have it all here, then you're okay.
Tomorrow.
Yeah.
Nate, yes.
I guess I would just be a little bit concerned, and I know nobody's proposing this, but I think before we get too far into this conversation, this surplus, the memo says, largely came from a special education adjustment, which to me means that we didn't budget it for building work. It is surplus, it's our decision, but at the same time, looking ahead in the next couple of years to be coming back to the community and asking for a large amount of money if we continue with the idea of adding onto this building, I think it would show good faith. I think it would be good for us to return surpluses when we have them as much as we can to the community, rather than, and so I'm just trying to look at these different projects with that in mind. And yes, it's a surplus, but I want to make sure that we keep in mind that I don't want to go and, not that we're saying it, but spending all that right now on fixing these.
Well, we can
I
also
want to weigh these things against each other.
We can do this out of the trust as well. I mean, that's what the trust is.
But we just said that our trust is hitting.
Well, we have 75.
We have
Okay, we have 75, and that's starting in July 1st. So then we
start. You can do it whenever.
Okay.
Yeah, that money is
Okay.
So I would entertain a motion.
Well,
Sure,
one quick comment.
Yeah.
I understand where you're coming from, and I agree in principle, but on the other side of that, if we take it from the trust, we have to replenish the trust. So I don't want to be at the other end of the spectrum too, asking for. I don't know which scenario is better, because yes, I agree that it would, from an optics point of view, it would be good to return as much of that surplus as possible. But at the same time, if we, like I said, spend money out of the trust and then have to go, hey, I think we need to throw more money in the trust.
Yeah.
From an optics point of view, does that look just as bad as?
But at least then the town gets the budget for it and decide whether, that's a separate decision that the town gets to make in March, rather than us making the decision for them, budgeting it for one thing and then, whoops, we're going to spend it on this instead. I know there's wiggle room, but on a scale of, and we're not saying $500,000, but I wouldn't want to take that and go, for something else that it wasn't budgeted for.
Right.
That's the only thing I'm pointing out.
And well, the other thing too about it, if we take it out of the trust fund, I've got a public
Right.
hearings, with public, an opportunity for public discussion.
This is a large. And we're gonna have a couple of items.
So
let's get into it.
all right.
So let's.
Can I kill the low hanging fruit?
Yes. So the 2,300 for a bathroom. Where do we want to do this from? You're either going to make a motion out of the surplus, or you're going to make a motion out of the trust.
The bathroom's the one project I'm not ready to really go after yet, because I'm concerned about there being enough time to get it done. That's my one
Well,
concern.
if we don't approve funds, it definitely won't get done.
I think that's my concern. Is there going to be enough time to get it done into floors? And there's I know Mike's busiest time of the year is the summertime, and to squeeze in a rehash of a bathroom, there's a part of me that wants to maybe sit on that project a little bit longer and get numbers just to have contracted out and have somebody come in and just do it floor to ceiling, it's done, and then we can multiply it out.
I have a clarifying question that maybe I missed the answer to it.
Sure.
But are these items that Mike has in his packet, have these things been on the docket for this, these are things that were in the
Engineering study.
engineering study.
Right.
Okay. But they weren't budgeted for,
They were budgeted for in that we put out 2 warrant articles, not that, well, we did 2 this year as well, but the previous year for $75,000 each to address things that were directly into this. So yes, they were indirectly budgeted for because the town approved funds put into the trust fund to address things that were in the engineering study. These are things that were in the engineering study.
so the town, then, the town has said, yep, these are the things that were in the engineering study, and here's the money going to the trust fund.
Even though I don't think the town is interested in micromanaging the $2,300 bucket.
Right.
So,
I'd be happy to take that from the surplus.
okay, so make
But
Okay, that's-
well, but I'm gonna defer to Zach.
everyone is an independent board member.
Yeah, no, I know they are, but I agree with Zach. I'm happy to wait on it. I don't know that that's as pressing as the hot water.
If we're doing it from the surplus, this is the last chance.
So can we circle back to that
Because
one?
we would need to contract somebody before the end
Yeah.
of June.
Can we circle
I'm
back
happy
to
to circle back on that.
circle back to that one in a couple minutes?
Okay.
All right, so I move that we take $16,840 for the replacement of the hot water heater from the soon-to-be funded, what's the correct term? I'm sorry, Patty. New fund,
Building repair.
equipment repair, and,
Installation.
yeah, equipment repair and installation,
That's the equipment and installation equipment trust fund.
yes. That one,
Why would you want to do that out of that?
because
one
that's
and not-
exactly what we created that fund for.
No,
And that
like
is
your
re-
oil pump is what we created that.
Well, that hot water heater is the same, there's really no difference.
Is it a repair?
It's a replacement. It's a replacement of an existing hot water heater.
And that fund is the equipment replacement and repair.
No, it's
No,
not.
that's the
It's
other
just
one.
the equipment and installation.
We couldn't replace the kiln out
Because-
of the fund.
Because it was a new kind of kiln.
It was a new kiln.
Yes, it was an upgrade.
It was just new. If it's not 25 years old, it's new. It theoretically should be an upgrade. The water heater's 25 years old.
But we're replacing the water heater.
And it's still functional.
No, it's held together with baling twine and just like the kiln is.
It doesn't specify, it's just equipment, it doesn't say that it's for replacement or new, there's no restriction.
That's the new fund.
Yeah.
It's the new fund that
Yeah.
was funded on July 1st.
So,
But Jim's point is you could take it out of the old fund.
I could, but I'm going to use the old fund
okay,
for
well,
other
you're making a
projects.
motion, so go ahead.
So that was my motion.
Is there a second on his motion?
Second.
All right, discussion on removing how much? $16,000?
$16,840.
$16,840 out of the equipment repair and installation fund. Superintendent.
I'm just wondering about making a motion now for a fund that theoretically doesn't have any money in it. So it's,
Oh, that's not my problem.
right, so until the book's closed and the funds are transferred in, it doesn't exist yet.
Okay.
So, I think it's fine that you want to use it for that, but you may not want to make the motion tonight.
And why? I do think that it could be pulled out of the existing repair and
I'd be happy to make an amendment to move it to the old. Can you speak more to why you want to use the new and not the old?
Because I want to leave a comfortable amount of money for projects like bathrooms.
In the old fund.
In the old fund.
but we're going to have 75 extra grand.
Well, it's not extra because
New.
we're gonna go
Additional funding.
17,000 here and 8,000 there, and that 75 grand is going to be 50 very rapidly.
But we have 75 going on, as of a few weeks from now, we have 75 going into the old fund and also 75 going into the new fund.
25 into the
25 into the new, 75 into the old.
Yes.
Okay.
And if we're trying to maintain a $200,000 balance in the old fund, we effectively have July 1st about $80,000 to play with if we intend to maintain. There's approximately 80 grand to play with. If we intend to maintain a $200,000 cushion.
So, you made a motion to amend.
No, I just said I might, but I will now. Yes, I would like to amend. I move to amend to Zach's motion to take it out of the old fund, not the new fund.
So, rather than the equipment installation fund, it would go out of the repair and replacement funds.
Thank you.
Give these funds like Fund A, Fund B, Fund C.
That would be nice, wouldn't it? Fund A. All right, do I need a second on Kate's, if there's going to be a second? Second. All right, we are now discussing the amendments to change the fund that we would pull the money out of. Mr. Oxnard?
I hear your concern, but I think that if we're putting $75,000 into it, and if it's explicitly a repair fund, and if Superintendent Sherman thinks that this would work, then I would rather take it from that fund and save the new fund for explicitly projects that are not falling under the repair umbrella.
Any additional discussion? All in favor of amending the original motion to change the fund that the monies are drawn from? Say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? You voted. All right, we are now back.
I've already lost, so it doesn't matter.
We are now back on the original question of 840 out of the repair.
This was on the engineering study?
Yeah.
Okay, I just don't remember seeing it.
It was something that was aging out.
Yeah.
And now it has aged out.
Officially.
Any additional questions? Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Alright.
Aye.
Alright. Can we talk about oil pumps?
That's the next thing.
Sure. Was there a recommendation, Principal Withy, on the oil pump?
Honeywell.
On Honeywell, okay.
9,000.
Do you have that number, Jim?
9,050. Looks like 9,000.
That's RTH.
Oh, that's, sorry.
9,455.
Honeywell was 9,455. Does anybody have any questions on what the purpose of that is?
Yeah, what's the purpose of that?
Okay, so the purpose of that is we currently feed oil into our two boilers with one pump. The tanks are outside and we have to get the oil in. The pump is old, there's no redundancy built into it, so if the pump goes kaput in the middle of the night, we do not open. So this is a replacement of the existing pump, which is getting old and tired, with basically a redundant setup. So we'll have two pumps, so in the event of a pump failure, one pump can carry the load, bring oil in, we escort.
This is a perfect example of your new trust fund.
Should I go after it?
Not until July 1st.
Okay. So this one then, my intent would be to have this on the table on July 1st to take care of that.
Right. So
And Honeywell should be able to come knock that out with no issue between.
So we will readdress that one on July 1st, because that is changing the entire system. It's putting in a redundant system, it's a different system.
Have we addressed the kiln yet? Speaking of,
The kiln is repaired and replaced.
so that's something that could be done this summer then. Because the money's here July 1st.
And using the fund that we just created.
No, that was
that's-
budgeted.
Budgeted. Great.
So that's a project
Right.
as well.
Okay, is there anything else on consent? I've lost track of how many we've done.
Before we move on from the oil, is there anything looking ahead to this year? Anything else is that it? I mean, that's right now. I mean, are these projects that are looking ahead for this upcoming year, and we're doing them all right now over the summer with this new fund? Is there anything else any reason to save that money for some other project that we don't know about yet? And if we don't know about it, we can't. Obviously. Okay.
And that's,
Is there anybody who is inclined to make a motion for the order?
Was that on the engineering study?
no,
It's entirely.
that's a separate request. That's an independent request.
And that was a weight limit issue. It's as old as the building, and it was a 500-pound weight, 388 pounds chair.
So, has it been insufficient to this point?
Not to this point.
Do we anticipate it becoming insufficient?
Hypothetically?
Hypothetically.
Hypothetically, it may lead.
I would prefer to wait on that personally. Is there anybody who would like to make a motion on it?
I think we need to keep it on top of the pile.
Is that a motion?
Move to do nothing?
Hearing no motion, we'll move on. Anything else?
So the oil back to the bathroom? July 1.
Oh, the
That
bathroom.
Mike can start working on the hot water heater.
hot water heater is approved.
We'll have to have a public,
We need to draw money off of the trust fund.
but we can do the work.
Yeah, because you have to spend the money first, and then
Okay.
it's the hearing as to whether you're gonna withdraw money from the fund.
So on the bathrooms, as we said, we're gonna circle back to that, Mr. Chairman.
Who's driving this ship?
I bought the pizza. It's on me.
Yes, on the bathrooms, Mr. Langlois.
Okay. So I guess my question is, for the administration is, what's your take on, does Mike have the time to get the bathrooms, to get a bathroom done with the everything else? Or is this a project you would rather us look to contract? That's a loaded question for
It
you.
is a loaded
I
question,
know.
but I think to have it done in the way that the board is looking to have it finished, I don't know that Mike will be able to do that level of work that the board is looking to have done.
From a time standpoint.
So we could make a motion to approve funds on a guesstimate for how much we think it would be.
Wouldn't even know where to shoot.
Don't even know.
And if you're going to do that, do we want to do like all of the bathrooms up here, or?
I would, I think what we should do is maybe, and I can take it on, is see what we have, do a quick tally on fixtures for the gang bathrooms, see what really needs to be done, come back in a future meeting, have that discussion about how we want to approach it, and then maybe give Mike some guidance on, get a number to have somebody come in and replace all the fixtures in the countertops, or paint and dividing walls, or whatever, because we've got the partitions and everything else, and maybe we don't need to redo the partitions. I've only been in one of the gang bathrooms, but maybe we don't need to do the partitions, but let's maybe pause on this long enough to assess in its entirety, and then come back and develop a more thorough plan.
Or do we want to offer Mike the opportunity to show us what he can do for $2,300? Because that's what he's saying. For $2,300, he's saying he can do quite a bit.
He's saying he can paint and replace the fixtures,
He's saying
and
paint, primer, supplies, in-house painting labor,
and new ceiling tiles.
ceiling grid tiles, fixtures. He's got a plumbing cost in there for a plumber.
Who is also going to place the bucket over there?
No. I'm willing to give it a whirl, but I'm expressing my.
I just don't think that. I think that's if our maintenance director feels that that's an appropriate expenditure that he can do it. I don't know why we should tell him he can't.
Did he come back with that because we asked him to put it on the list, or did he voluntarily initiate this?
Yeah, it was part of the engineering
Good
study
on this.
was do the bathrooms.
Okay,
And this is his approach,
to doing it.
and he's approaching one at a time. We could try one, and if it's not, like just hypothetically, we could try his approach on one, and if it's not suitable to time-wise for what we want.
I just don't want to neglect other projects that have to be done. That's my.
Maybe you can approve the funds, and then we can have a conversation with Mike and make sure that he feels that he can get it done. If he can't, then we'll just extend the funds.
I like that.
You make a good point. He said that this is what he can do.
Yeah.
And if we don't approve it, we're simply getting it.
You can't do it if you don't approve it tonight.
So
I'll move 2,300 from the surplus. Well, that's not the right word for it, but from the fund balance. Thank you. This year to get started, to open the discussion with Mike about redoing the gang bathroom on the second floor. I don't know if that's the right wording. Put towards it. Yes, thank you. What did I miss in that motion?
how about $2,300 for redoing the bathroom?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
That's what I meant.
That was a good motion.
However you want to say that. Any additional discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So we're now done with consent items?
Until after non-public, yes.
Okay. what I would like to suggest at this point is we have staff members sitting in the audience. Before we start talking about a storage shed
Or pizza.
or engineering study review, that we offer the staff the opportunity to do their presentation and go home.
Sure. We have a presentation.
Everybody okay with that?
No.
Is there a
Oh, staff report. Awesome. Great.
He's here. Everybody's okay with that. Go right ahead.
Pass it over.
Unless we want to get you,
It's not my turn.
Click on the upper right, the little person. You can sign in right there. Got it.
Can we do a light again? Turn off a light. Ready?
If for those of you who don't know me, I'm also on board and I teach Scratch and Spanish here to 7th and 8th graders. It's a 2-year program. It's designed to be a 2-year program, a level 1 and a level 2 for students start 7th grade. With the goal of if they achieve competency each year in the competencies that they get to move into 2nd year high school French or Spanish instead of going into first year. So I'm pretty excited about this. I'm sure about the subject. And at the end of the year, it's a really nice time to present because the students have come so far. My first year students have come really far from where they began. Most of them began with very little or none for French or Spanish. And at the end of my second year, my students were going up to high school. It's really exciting to see how far they've come, not just from, not only from the beginning of 2 years ago, but from the beginning of this year. So I thought I would choose one of the competencies is the production of language and writing. And I say target language because French, Spanish, for me, I love both languages. I have some kids who take French, some students who take Spanish. But the curriculum, more or less, is the same. There are different grammar points, but the competencies are the same. So they start, so level one, so mostly this is seventh graders, sometimes it's eighth graders who do start in seventh grade. So they start 20 words every 5 to 7 classes, which is about every 1 coffee. So if not their first 20 words, mostly this is hello, goodbye, fine, thank you, and good lesson. So they create within the first week, they're creating dialogues and making fun. And essentially it's like, hi, how are you? My name is Kevin. What's your name? My name is Maximiliano. Nice to meet you. God bless you. See you later. Goodbye. So I've done French and Spanish because I never know should I do French or Spanish to meet the locals and things. By early January, so they've been building up vocabulary, and they're learning to spell words and need to do lots of memory strategies, talk about how to convey it to English words so they can remember it, so it's not just straight memorization. And what the so they are so yes, it's really fun to work with. It's an example of what they do. They'll take a vocabulary word, for example, and some of the basic common concepts they need to learn in world language before they go to high school are one of them is gender. They are males or masculine or feminine. 2, questions and answers, so the full question or full answer. And adjectives come after, not before they know in most cases, and the actual ending changes depending on the gender. So this is actually pretty complicated because the first time you say this is like, a desk is masculine, a chair is feminine, but a seat is masculine. This is a big step for them. But at this point they totally accepted that, which is really nice. That's one big hurdle. So I have a few examples of the word. The students' names are always on it, but they have chosen French or Spanish names, so the last names are recognized as possible. So again, so we have those deer like venison, for example, in Spanish, turkey in French is dindon. We do this around Thanksgiving, everybody's thinking about Thanksgiving dinner for dindon. And Spanish is so they do a nice job with the technology, like Brooke was saying. But they also are putting lots of different pieces of the puzzle together to learn how to language structure. Then we get to a part of the subject pronouns. This is like I, you, he, she, we, you, they, and it makes the professions. So they're describing people. You are a soldier, and by adjectives that come after the one person is a soldier, and you're not lazy. So they have a lot of, they're very creative. They have this motivation. She's a serious lawyer. We are silly and fun students. I have this evening I smart and great teachers. And then on, we bring first year to verb conjugation, all kinds of different activities to fly, to hop, to jump, to eat, to walk, all those things. So all of a sudden, the amount of information that they can communicate expands dramatically, just with these tools, both in speaking and in writing. And so we start very simple. One of the really wonderful things about starting in middle school is that I have the time that they don't have in high school to spend. There are 6 persons to this kind of unit for what's called conjugation is the other huge concept that the students need to master before going to high school. That's part of the curriculum that is very large, and it can be really hard for students to understand. And so it's get to spend 6 lessons on it instead of the 1 or 2 that you spend in high school. So I think they get a really good grasp. So we start, these are simple sentences, subject and verb. I walk, I walk in, I do them. Manger, to eat. And then by the end of the year, this is what I got. We have to show this to the students. We take the stock phrases, for example, for weather. They learned how to conjugate the verbs. You should just change the ending so it shows who's doing the action and when it's happening. And there's a few connection words like when or because, and they put together sentences of 10 to 15 words. They started out with hola, ¿qué tal, cómo estás? And they're now saying things like, when it's hot out, they can football because it's fun. This is actually pretty big for the end of the question. When it snows and it's cold, it squeezes. And all my students are doing this, so I'm really, really happy about that. It's a great place for them to be at the end of the first year. The second year, we start up again with complex sentences, more vocabulary, more verbs. They're cool because it's snowing. It's the same kind of pattern, so it's not new anymore. The kids just dive right into this. It's not scary, but how do they do this exercise? They can do this. And then, show here, useful hands. So you're describing people. They're singing because it's Monday, they have a little sense of humor in another language. This is also good. And so there are 8 paragraphs in the verb. These are just building on all these individual sentences that they have written. So this is, we do riddles. Who is this? So they describe, and then you guess, or the other students guess. And they speak this as well, so there's other competencies that come into this. He has a long and brown beard. He's a patriot, one of the patriots. He also plays football. He has a daughter and a girlfriend. He's with his hands. This would be. So it doesn't look as perfect. And a lot of times they do YouTubers, so I've never heard of it. They can guess, but I have no clue what we're talking about. So I get to learn some culture as well. But this one I have for them. So she has black hair with brown eyes. Also, she likes to babysit children with their parents. She likes to sing to little kids. She wears a hat on her head with a blue coat. She chats to words. She's very fascinating. She doesn't have a family, but she has a lot of friends. You have it, right? There you go. So that's, but if you looked at it, this is a pretty long paragraph that this student wrote. And it's not the only one. They were all, most of them are people doing that. So then we get to long paragraphs, short essays. We do your dream house. So we have 2 units of vocabulary that we describe things. We're learning the new verbs. I like, I would prefer. And so this is, so I get an assignment 50 words or more to write a paragraph at my dream house. I think 2 students did maybe 45, 50, 2 students did 48. This one's got 75 words. This is one of the shorter ones, so I have up to average of about 125 words that they just gave me. I can just do it, and they go ahead and they do it. It's really exciting. So I'm not going to do the whole thing for you, but you can see what I'm about. The dream house is white. It's far from the street. It's pretty big. I think it's
It's got patios.
Yeah, it's got a patio, so we got those words that in English often. Sometimes I give them a whole list of that. Like there's like 50 animals that you just like to do a patio. And they're like, oh, I know all these words now. This person he wanted a car and also a truck. And then this is another one of my students. And she wants to be in Georgia, 3 floors, 3 stories. She wanted an office and gate room. She really wanted this. But you can see that she will fight a bit. It's going to take people to come into your classes. And then we have right away we do some corrections so that they can self-check themselves. But at this point, they recognize the kinds of mistakes that they should be able to recognize for high school. That was really the conjugation, the adjective, agreement, and position. All I have to say is position of the pronoun, and then the change of the gesture. And they're good. And that's all. They're not supposed to be filled supers at the end of 1 year. Like they can recognize what they need to do. This is how they're going to be prepared for high school. So French. Because I gave full time to English. And this one again was that she wants to be here. She did highlight because I had certain parameters on vocabulary words I had to use. The silver car, she wants a pool, and also a beauty spot outside. And I had to check what she really mean by that. And this is one to word essay by another student. Who wants to be far from the suburbs of the city. She doesn't like the city. She wants to be near the ocean because she likes to spend time with the beach. And she goes on and on. And it's awesome.
this is just so very exciting that she can do this, and my other students, they don't do this much, but they understand exactly what she's saying, what she's writing. Because I have really some very strict about not using translators. That's the big list that world language teachers have right now, so they know I really glad to have the world language teacher to tell me to use a translator. So if they need to learn what they have, and there is something like this, to use the word armchair that we haven't had, so I bet that I give them a budget, a certain number of words they can look up and just say what they think they're saying, because sometimes when they look up the dictionary and they say a word, it's not actually the word they think it is. So, like I want a pool, this could be I want a billiard table, because it's a pool table and they look it up and they're still learning how to find what's the right definition. Since I like to know what they think they're saying, I can usually figure it out too, but sometimes it's, I think I ended with that. But my final project for my level 2 is they read a chapter book, my French and physical program, or program, entirely in French or Spanish. It's about 36 pages. This is the updated version in Spanish. That makes 56 pages. But when I start reading to the students, they're like, I know, because these were designed for first-year students in high school where they're just being world language learners, they're not native speakers. But it's got a plot, and it's very empowering. I use that word empowering for my students, so that they can read it and like, oh, yeah, I read this, I get this. And the very last assessment that I did with my students was I gave them 40 minutes to write, and the questions were all until the new study was going to be, essentially, what the structure would be of the assessment. So I'm just going to answer them 12 questions. Some of them are the who, what, when, where, why, how questions. Some are opinion questions. Some are compare and contrast. They're very similar. They're explaining your thought process. Some are they're very similar to what you would ask in an English language classroom for language arts. So I have to say, so it's 30 minutes, go, and they did it, they went. And sorry, this is one that I'm just showing. They wrote, this is all Spanish. These are all French, what they wrote, some of them more paragraphs, some could write more than the others, and it's a two-step process, it's different, but it takes more time. But I can really, the gauge that we're using now is could a native French or Spanish speaker understand what your child is trying to express? And the answer in most cases now is yes. So just make this that they can do. It just blows my mind each year how much you can give them a little more and they just rise up to it. So that's my brief, maybe not the explanation of how they do their writing in the world language classroom.
Awesome. Thank you.
Any questions?
One question. You're focusing clearly on a lot of writing. Is there also time or the availability or the means to do it in the school day to focus on the speaking and the accent and that kind of stuff? Is that part of it as well? Or is
so
it?
I focused this presentation because I was just under a minute, keep it short. I'm not sure I went over. But that is one of 6 competencies.
Okay.
So I have the basic language competencies are the production of language, which is the speaking and the writing. There is the comprehension that you put, so it's just the listening and the listening comprehension and reading comprehension. And then there's the culture component, which is really comparing language and cultural products from the United States perspective to Hispanic or French speaking world. So I could do the same with the presentation and my other competencies as well. I would just say that one, I divided the speaking competencies into speaking pronunciation and also to person. So the conversation, that is a lot of different skills. You have to understand what the person is asking you. You have to give information back. And then if you want to have a conversation, you have to ask the same question or related questions to have a conversation that makes any sense. With without looking at your notes. So my first year students, basically, they have about 50 questions, because every time I give them their 20 words, we also do 2 questions, about 1 to 2 questions every week. And they learn those, and we practice them several times a week. With partners, we switch partners, we rotate things out. And those are, the first year it starts with, what's your name, how are you, do you have brothers or sisters, how many do you have any dogs, what are their names, just depending on what their name is, based on the vocabulary. So at the end of the year, I choose 5 random questions, and it's an interview. We do it a few times a year, but at the end of the year, it's up to 15. And they have to answer, listen, 4 out of 5 correctly, but they don't know which ones are going to be, 10 out of 3. And right now, they're all passing this. And then they have an additional 50 questions the second year with the speaking. And those questions are more complex than confirming vocabulary. What is your dream cost? Can you describe the moment? And they're doing great.
Great, thank you.
Fantastic.
I enjoy it too.
Any other questions? Just anecdotally, that when the kids hit Concord High, the language classes there are entirely taught in language. There's no English.
Okay.
The teachers just speak the language right off the bat.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right. 5-minute recess for pizza, and then we get back at it.
Sounds good.
Everybody okay with that?
Yes.
All right, we are done with our break. Next on the agenda is the storage barn. Storage barn shed?
Facility.
So the last meeting we had a couple of questions, and I don't know if the administration has some responses to those.
We'll do the shed inventory, if that's one of the questions.
Yeah. No problem.
So I need to budget.
I can just.
Yes. So the grade level, each grade level, and we talked to the grade level about having a shelf space, and they were all for that. They understood the teacher by grade level. We talked to the teachers about the gym equipment and the locker rooms, as well as the
Gym project.
yeah.
Athletic
Okay, so the things like life vests, paddles, canoes, there's tennis tables, there's archery materials in that back closet, there's a volleyball tower, there's snowshoes. So with all of those things to clear out, we could probably fit a couple more racks. Currently there are 5 racks in the gym closet. There are 6 racks that are right there by that back stairwell, either under the stairs or on the side of the stairs. And then by cleaning out some of the things that are seasonal, we probably could fit at least 3 more racks, maybe even more.
Or we could move the chairs outside in this case.
Put them in the shed.
We could do that as well. The thought of having to bring those things in and out through winter and slush and snow and down ramps and around corners, and I don't know that that's feasible if we can get as many things as we can in that closet. There's stuff in the shower locker room that we have to clear out. It's big, too many baby elves, so we need to have that space cleared out. It would be good to have cleared out because we're an emergency shelter. There's non-seasonal equipment and uniforms in there that we could put into the shed. And there's also PTO material stored in there. Under the stairwells, there's unused or frequently unused PT and OT equipment that we can move out there. There's some carts, TVs. We also took a look at the sound equipment. Hesitant to put anything overly, but there's some things that we'd like to keep in here just because of protection and cameras and keeping them locked up. But there are some things that we could, from the stairwell, that we could definitely push through some unused carts that are in there. We have The PTO has inventory stored all over the town of Deerfield in people's houses. The grill is in somebody's barn. There's also closet materials in St. Carl's office, in the PTO closet. A lot of that can be cleared out, put out there on shelves. And then talking with maintenance and technology, maintenance was even saying if we could get some of the furniture that's stored in the old shed, clear that out, put it into the new shed, he could use the old shed for his snow blower and the things that he would need for maintenance. There's also some talk about potentially setting up an area for maintenance repair. Bob thought that would be a great spot for him to do some technology repair because it's so hard to figure out what closet he works out of and there's just no space. So that's a consideration. And Mike said that if we have some sort of climate control, there are supplies that we can put out there, like floor wax we can store out there. But that's a whole other. I'm just throwing that out there. Other things that we've considered are the tables, the long folding tables that we have. We have a few here, and Brian's going to talk a little bit about perhaps getting some more tables that we can house here instead of having to go over to the town hall and borrow theirs for events like the middle school curriculum, the schooling, there's trick or treat, family math night, that type of thing. Again, there's extra desks and chairs, there's extra teacher furniture around that we could store in there. There's stage props, play props on the stage as well as in the locker rooms. The risers for music. Is that enough? That's all. I might get a bigger one or second one too.
So there's clearly. I would entertain. What is the wish of the board?
Build 2 sheds.
Well, we collectively said we were not interested in moving ahead with 2 of the bids that we received.
Correct.
So the remaining bid is with Solid Roots Construction for $70,000. How much was it?
Some of the items, while we're pulling that, you were rattling off like old TVs and stuff, and completely not used, right?
Right.
So there's dumpsters we can get, and we can just roll them right into it and never even put them in the shed.
Yeah, correct.
Okay. Are we? Okay.
If there wound up being like a maintenance, like a repair, right, or an area that they were working on small motors or something of that sort, is that ever something that middle school kids could participate in, or is that just? I don't know if there's a insurance liability piece to that.
Depends on what they're doing.
But I mean, if they set it up so that it was large enough that they could actually, the kids could. Right.
Or even if they give it like an enrichment program.
Yeah, it's just
something where they can stare it down and see the inner workings and those who have that understanding. They don't have to necessarily do a functional repair,
right?
But just something where they have that ability to store.
One more thing, quick thing to throw out there. Bob had mentioned that if we can run a network cable into there, then he can set up a scoreboard on top of it.
Well, we don't have it. We have a scoreboard up there.
Oh, well, there is an electronic one there, but it's not the greatest.
Did you see how nice the field looks?
Yes, field looks wonderful. Thank you.
Well, don't thank me.
I know. I'm just saying it on the record.
Oh, okay.
So what is the number?
So the number we're looking for is $66,000.
66K.
With Solid Roots bid for a, what do we do,
20 by 40.
20 by 40?
Or is it 25 by 40?
It is 24 by 40. 2 stories, effectively.
Yeah, 24 makes more sense than.
Yeah.
What's the wish of the board?
Well, before I move on, I have questions before I move anything.
Do you want this?
Do you want to have a
move
discussion
it,
ahead of it?
discuss it, or?
Yeah, so let me just throw this out and then we can decide to move it or not. the last time we visited this, I wasn't sure which side I was on. Now hearing that, I'm more convinced that there's a need for it. I sort of brought this point last time, but I didn't really pursue it. The next step for me is that we've got one bid that is so drastically different than the other two that I'm concerned either that two parties were not clear on what the actual outline of the project was, and therefore they're both way over. But it sounds like, from what you said last time, that they should have been clear on it. Or the other one is so either under budgeted or inaccurate that it seems to be too good a deal to pass up. So why are they so different? And I'm not sure. I'd like to feel better about that before I vote for this.
I reached out to Solid Roots to confirm that this was realistic.
Yeah.
And they rechecked their numbers and said that yes, that it was realistic. They were also involved community members.
Okay.
So I don't think I think they are intentionally keeping profit at a very reasonable rate for the community.
Okay.
So, and the other side of the question is, during the walkthrough, all three contractors stood there and heard the exact same thing at the same time. There was one walkthrough with all three of them present. So they all heard the same thing. We stood outside in the same spot, explaining what we were looking for, and they were all working off the same bid documents. I think by looking at what two of the other bids were, I think they just took it to a more extravagant level than what we were looking for, which is we're looking for effectively a big shed. And I think they were taking it into a more extravagant place. But that's not what the specs called for. The specs were for a large shed, for lack of a better term. And clearly, we need the space. It frees up space. It cleans up the egress and the stairwells, which is something we need to get done. I wasn't even thinking about canoes and kayaks and all that other stuff.
All right.
Someone make a motion?
Someone should. You know the numbers best.
Move 66K out of fund balance for the construction of the shed.
Second. Discussion on the storage shed / barn. Do we want to discuss the shelving within it? Because we did not spec on the shelving.
I guess that's what I'm sitting here thinking really about is like, I would just want to, like, you were naming all that stuff, Chris, and in my mind, I was like envisioning this like jungle tangle of madness in there without some type of like, this is the protocol, how it works. And the other thing too is not only shelving, but to make sure that people have containers. Because, I'm thinking about my own shed, about like the mice and you go to pull out some of the, I think you said something about uniforms not in season, and I'm like, careful there. Unless they go in plastic,
And there's going to be a heated drywall section.
So I think, in my mind there's two motions. I think there's the motion to build a structure, because that's a known quantity. And I think there's a second motion for amount up to something. I would probably make a pretty good number to storage for organizational storage. Yeah. But just to facilitate the organization of it.
All right, so we are on the motion for $66,000 to
build it.
Solid Roots for a storage barn. Is there any other discussion? Yes.
So two things. One is how much of the school or the physical plan was involved by that? I mean, Mike. How much did he have to say about this? Did he have any input on what this would look like? Was this done? And I wasn't at the walk around. So was it done as an idea, and then Solid Roots came back with this proposal? Was Mike consulted before or afterwards?
Mike was consulted before, and Mike's original suggestion was we could fit a really nice big storage barn out back by the oil tank. And walked it off with him, discussed it, went to the old shed and talked about the possibility of just enlarging the old shed, but based on its proximity to the water and also its footprint, and its location with the 2 modular classrooms that are already there, that was a non-starter. So he said we absolutely need space. Out back was his preference. And then we did some assessments in terms of the proximity of the wetlands, and it would require a high-level wetlands permit to put something in. So I can't speak for Mike. I don't think the location is necessarily his prime location. He said get it as close to the building as possible. That is the only location that we can do this without getting through a wetlands permit process at this point.
Okay.
And it does not impact any of the educational space on the property.
Okay. The location of that sort of fixture would then have impact down the road in a year, 2 or 3 when we start to look at the new building. I've said this in the past. I mean, and then our road is confined. If we do redesign our driveway, are we now adding things that we don't want to be adding? And I don't want to be so hesitant that we don't move forward, but I just want to make sure that we're considering that possibility, that putting a building there means we can't use that space for a road. Are we realistically even going to consider that space for a road?
We're coming into a pretty steep embankment. So hypothetically speaking, if we move the road into that embankment, it would require the building of a full retaining wall in order to keep the slope from falling down into the road. I can't see us ever doing that.
It seems like we kind of have a pretty idea of logically where, in actual addition to this building, we basically know about where it's going to be, right? And it's not going to impact that area whatsoever. So it's going to be outside of that building envelope in its entirety. Once the modulars are gone, your access road may end up being entirely different, but it may be because the road is going right where the modulars are and then moving right back around the building. You get into wetlands problems there, so there may never be a great way to rework the parking as well. That's a little vague, but that hillside isn't conceivably where you're going to be putting road, because you also have interference with to put a road there. It's not just where that building would be, but you already have existing structures there. You have septic, your pump system for the septic tanks. You have the pump house there is for the fire suppression. So you have your buried tanks for the fire suppression there as well. So it's not just the buildings in the way. If a road was going to be there, we're tearing out all the fire suppression tanks. We're tearing out the septic pump tank, the dirty pump that pushes stuff up to the leach field. So, I mean, you're moving a significant amount of infrastructure to put road there anyway. So that's not where a road is going to be unless we want to completely rework the entire infrastructure of all of our systems. Or effectively just lining everything up in a row.
And the other one is something I mentioned earlier tonight, which is that this is $70,000 that the town didn't budget for, and they didn't vote for. And so I know we represent the town, and so I would just be. That's maybe the biggest thing that's weighing on me, is that is this what the town empowered us to do? And we've got a budget, a surplus, a fund balance, but it wasn't from building; it was from special ed. Should this money go back to the town, and then should they have the voice to decide next year? Would that give us more time to make a plan and then do it next year if the town approves that? And I'm on the fence. I'm tempted to say that would be a better course of action than to use our fund balance to do this.
I think if we look at it from the point of view of compliance with safety code, this is the issue that's come up with having too much stuff in critical areas correlating to the need for space, or highlighting the lack of space here. I think that we can definitely state that by building that shed, we are addressing those immediate needs here. That's the solution we came up with for those immediate needs. I don't think it's. Again, I understand your concern about the surplus and having that public input, and I think you would be right on if there was more easily looked at as a frivolous thing. We just decided to build a shed because we had extra money. But I look at it more of, we have money that we can address this immediate need with. I don't think it's money that we're just spending just to spend. I think it's, we have a little bit, we want to give some back as much as we can, but we really should use some of this to address these immediate needs that have been highlighted for years.
I think I had the same concerns because I agree with you on all of the points. Initially I'm like, that's a lot of money for a shed.
Well, it's a building. We shouldn't call it a shed. It's a building, in all fairness.
It's a storage building.
Yes.
I'm thinking about educating kids, and we're going to spend, I'm sure there are a million other things we could talk about, like let's spend $66,000 on these educational things, right? But I also recognize, to Ken's point, that these things that have impeded the ability to use things as they were designed for instance, i.e. locker rooms, and so I guess I'm thinking that it probably is a reasonable use of those funds, knowing that we'll address those immediate issues. For me, I just wanted, because I didn't know if you guys had heard it already, and that's why I felt awful asking for that list. But on the other hand, now that I've heard that list, I feel pretty comfortable as that with saying, all right, I can picture all of those things out there, and I can picture the functional space that the function that we'll gain back in the building because of it.
Sorry, one more thing. You mentioned, now that you mentioned the showers, and actually hearing about the locker rooms and the showers kind of brings something out. So with the Midwest and the flooding and the chaos and the climate change craziness that we're seeing now, let's say that something happened in town and we needed to use this as a shelter, like you mentioned in your list. Has in your talks with town officials, with Denny Gregg, has that ever come up as to how this, if something happened and this was the shelter, are there requirements for our showers and our bathrooms to be accessible that we aren't currently meeting? Like from that perspective, I've never heard that come up, but has that come up in your discussions?
It came up a few years ago, and they are all accessible. It would mean you're moving.
Basically, you're opening the shelter and cleaning out the.
Yeah, you're essentially doing housekeeping before someone could use those rooms.
And I could actually speak to that. We've used this school as a shelter in the past, and that is exactly what had to happen. We had to schlep a lot of things out of the locker rooms in order to make that accessible.
Okay.
It was open for like 3 or 4 days.
Is that for the Mother's Day floods?
Yeah, this is actually designated as
the town shelter.
Okay.
And I mean,
I've been in there where you can't even get, like, we store, like, basketball teams can't even use that locker room. Like, they go we close the curtain stage and they go behind the curtain stage.
Yeah,
that's
and
our
that's,
locker room.
those rooms should be functional. I mean, they're here,
As you said, they're not being used for what they were.
they're closets. They're closets.
Exactly.
And we can solve that. They have been for probably 20 years, but that doesn't make it right for 20 years.
Any other discussion? Mr. Oxnard.
If we go through with this, then what is the next step, and how do we have administration involved in the planning of it? Again, I don't feel like we've been involved in the planning of this, and I don't feel like I have, and I don't need the whole picture of what it's going to be and what it looks like, but the idea of having it doubling as a functional educational space or something like that, how do we make sure that, and I know we're not going to start building this tomorrow, but how do we
leverage the most out of it?
Yes, thank you. What is the process, if we approve this right now, the next step, and how
I
that...
would imagine it would entail meeting with the builder and the administration talking through the space needs, where they think things would be, the size of things that would go out there, and if there was the possibility for using it for after school or any kind of educational space that would be facilitated between the builder and the administration, and then maybe if we say yes tonight, then our mid-June meeting, we could hear what the idea is.
The educational space side of it, I don't think is gonna fly. It's not a sprinkled space, it's storage. So it's not educational space, it's storage space. It frees up space in the building, education. I think honestly, once it's constructed and it's built, it's to the administration to see to it that it gets set up and organized in a fashion that's appropriate and benefits the staff and the school. And, rather than rolling in old TVs, they get diverted and rolled into a dumpster. And the things that belong in the shed because they're good, because we use them, go there. And the things that should be steered into a dumpster or surplus get designated for that. And we charge that to the administration. But there's going to be a lot of things that get rolled out of the building, and you're going to blow the dust of 10 years of dust off it, and we're going to go, no, we really don't need a VCR anymore, because...
But let's stay on the motion here. So, are there any other discussions around the building of the physical building? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? We go.
Do we want to address fixtures, for lack of a better term?
Yeah.
So I'll move an amount from surplus for an amount up to, actually, let me ask a question to the superintendent. We would have to purchase the fixtures this year to make that work, so we're dealing with it next year.
Unless you wanted, if you know you're going to give each teacher a big plastic bin, you could go out and get that stuff and probably
cost of the fixtures is going to be minimal. I think we can just incur that.
But the shelving is not necessarily going to be minimal.
I would wait and have the discussion with the builder first, and at least inform them of the intended use, and see if they have other suggestions.
We have one more meeting this year.
Finalize some of the details about the building first.
Well, we have elevations and plans and all that stuff. My thought was to designate money to be used for the purchasing fixtures, because the builder's obligation, based on the bid, is the structure and the scope of the work in the bid. It's not the structure, the scope of the work in the bid, and then installing the fixtures.
No. And my comment was to say the installation of fixtures, but we should consult with them first to see if the design would change with any intent saying, hey, we're going to put a bunch of shelving out there. Maybe they need to reinforce the floor. Maybe they might want to change where some of the windows are or an entryway is, because if they do that, you can optimize where that shelving goes.
Would they have ideas? They may just have ideas.
So I guess in that regard, what I would say is I defer to the administration to that, and then any additional costs we can incur on next year's budget.
Or we could say we could spend up to X number of dollars, and if it doesn't get formalized before the end of the year, it doesn't get spent.
The issue with that is Amber needs the invoices entered by June 14th.
Okay.
So I don't know how we could possibly know what we need to put in there.
I think we address that.
Yeah, be very good.
I think we're not talking to super few. I mean,
No.
It's not much money in the grand scheme of things. Okay.
Storage barn. Board votes on the withdrawal for maintenance projects.
We did that.
Did we vote to approve that?
Yes.
We did?
You did. I didn't remember.
I made the motion.
80,000.
No, I made the motion. Did we actually vote?
80,000.
Yes.
66,000.
On the shed?
Lighting was the withdrawal.
No, the
The
shed.
shed
The
was
shed.
decided, yes.
We voted on the shed?
Yes,
We did.
we just voted on the shed. Squirrel.
Sorry.
Engineering study review. I don't have anything for this. Does anyone want to talk about the engineering study at this point?
What were we going to do? Why is it on here?
I think Zach just asked for us to review it and we were out with everything.
We already kind of did it.
We went through a lot.
We did.
Talked about a lot of items.
All right. So we are moving on. PTO update. The PTO is not here tonight. Staff reports. Staff has already gone. Executive board reports. We have not had an executive board meeting. Principals report.
This is a report from May 2nd to today, because I did not report in the second meeting. grades 3 through 8 are just about complete with the New Hampshire State Assessment testing. We have all the grades have fully gone, but we do have a few students that are still finishing us. And the results will be sent before the end of this school year, or with the last of the program. We sent the results like they did last year. Our baseball team made the playoffs and played yesterday. Unfortunately, they lost, but they did make the playoffs. Our softball team's season has finished, and our track 5th and 6th grade championship was last week, and our 7th grade championship was yesterday, and we fared very well in the championship. We had our staff appreciation week put on by the PTO the week of May 6th to May 10th, and they spoiled the teachers rotten. It was wonderful. On May 7th, we had our middle school curriculum night. Give a shout out to the middle school team. They know that we loved it, and I feel very proud of the work that they put into that, as well as the students that put it all together. Mrs. Libby lived through her first turkey tray ever.
Did you win anything?
I didn't win anything.
I never won.
I survived. And this year we, due to the security level of the building that we have to keep the doors locked during the day, there was a bit of a change, but it didn't seem to hinder the success of the tray.
Focus was very supportive of that. That was a decision they made last in the fall.
So instead of people coming in and out of the building all day long, so they would do this till after 3 o'clock, and it was great. They were great to work with. New Hampshire, our chorus and band attended the Southeast Musical Festival a couple of Saturdays ago. And represented Deerfield Community School very nicely. Our 3rd graders went on a field trip to Bear Brook May 15th, as well as the Red Cross blood drive was held that same day here in the cafeteria. Our 5th graders took their overnight trip to Boston on May 16th, that Thursday, and stayed overnight the traditional Boston trip. They had a wonderful time and loved that experience. Our 6th graders attended a new science camp this year, Nature's Classroom, from Sargent Center, which is in Hancock, New Hampshire, May 20th to the 23rd, and the kids came back happy, and some of them had no voices because they sang so loud, and kids experienced things they never thought in their lives they would like they would. They climbed ropes, and they worked as a team, and the teachers loved it. So I think they Sargent Center was a huge hit, and they have booked the same week for next year as well. There was an opportunity to go in the fall, but I think they liked having it this week because the later you go in the fall and winter, the ropes course isn't available. There's some things that they just can't have available, so they decided to set up. They were there with a school from Florida. From Miami,
really?
And they came to cold New Hampshire for the month of May. Mr. Grieve went up one day, spent the night, one night.
Yes.
Did come back to school the next day after he went home shouting. Mr. Beauvert also went up and spent an evening with the students and the staff, and they both have great things to say.
A different aspect compared to what we were doing at Heritage. So a little less sciencey, more creative, and more team building aspects. Yeah, just experiences that they would never have gotten at the other schools.
Awesome. Cool.
The teachers had a lot of things. So they're going to put together a slideshow and we'll have that on the website to see pictures. We had our Memorial Day Assembly on May 23rd. Mr. Grieve worked with Mr. Dudley, put the whole thing together. Students ran the entire assembly and did a wonderful job. On May 23rd, we attended, a few of us, Mr. Fond, Mr. Dudley, Mrs. Clark, Ann Clark, attended the Noun Scholar Leader Dinner, where 2 students were recognized as the 2018-2019 Deerfield Community School Scholar Leaders. That was Tristan Crotty and Elizabeth Weiss. We had a nice dinner, and they were their names were called, and they received a plaque, and we had a picture, and the Deputy Commissioner of Education was there. She gave a nice speech. And who was the weatherman that was there?
Sean McDonald.
Sean McDonald was there. He was the keynote speaker and did a wonderful job talking about just becoming who you need to become and overcoming things that are difficult. So it was a nice evening. We got to spend with the families as well. May 23rd was our family night night for K through 4 and was very well attended. It seemed different because it wasn't in the cafeteria, it was in the gym. So it seemed like it was, I guess when it was in the cafeteria, it was very crowded. But in the gym, it was
more open and spread out. So they look at, like, there's as many people there, but we had a very similar turnout at lunch. We had a lot of things that happened with what.
On May 24th, that Friday, we had our teacher workshop day, and teachers worked on digital portfolios in the morning. In the afternoon, we did curriculum work, specifically around science, which I think they will probably speak about in terms of CRB.
Yeah, sure.
So our K through 5 teachers got an opportunity to work on science units and our most science teachers, and then all the other curriculum team stuff will go further on that afternoon. On May 30th, we had our awesome spring concert. It was amazing to watch the growth of those students from the December holiday concert to the spring concert. It was so great to see them. We had a showing of our long-term music sub who was there. He worked directly with Mrs. Isaac and did a nice job. Our third graders actually did an awesome job with their recorders. It was, when we walked by in the hall, I was like, oh boy, I don't know if they're going to be ready, but they did it. They knocked it out of the park. They were wonderful. We had a kindergarten visitation last Friday. We had, I don't know if every kindergartner showed up. We were short 3. But then we gained 3 that hadn't registered. So our current kindergarten number is 51. So we're holding at that right now. Our June 1st, our Girls on the Run group ran a 5K in Portsmouth. And yesterday, the Concord High School visited, on Monday, Concord High School visited for fall sports sign-ups. They were here. And then I think David sent out a one call now encouraging parents and guardians to check the Concord High School website for further sporting dates that are important, summertime days. Our current enrollment is holding at 541. We had lost some, we got some, so we're still hovering at that 541 number.
Yeah, so Brian had a few requests. Do you want to do that now? Those reports, or can we put it later?
We can do it now.
Okay. So you guys have asked us to come to you if we ever feel like we have some needs. We had.
Oh, sure.
One of them is Miss Whitney already mentioned was would be the second page. Is rectangular folding tables. These are the tables that we constantly borrow from the town hall for the major events of the Tricky Tray, curriculum nights, and family fun. So everything, sorry, everything. It's always
We could have a family fun night.
if we get these tables. So I was kind of holding off on this one just in case you did not approve the shed, because we would not have room to store these in the building as is. So since you approved the shed, I figured to see if you guys would approve this. What we have essentially been doing is people, staff members, go over to the town hall with their pickup trucks and load and unload and bring it back to the stairs. So that was that one. The first page are science tables. One of our philosophies, obviously, is that there are kids in high school and middle school and try to set them up with as much curriculum and supplies that they would see when they're walking into Concord. So these take up a big chunk of our budget if I was to buy these for the new school year, and so we're hoping you guys have approved 4 of these. I've been slowly doing this throughout the years. We're up to 8 in the 7-8 room, and we are at 4 in the 6th grade room. So I've been slowly trying to do this over the last 4 years.
Do we need stools for these as well?
No, we have stools because right now they use just wooden tables.
You're covered on that.
Yes, we're covered on that. And then going on to the next page, this is from Lisa McConnell.
Yes, there are some assessment materials that we needed updated versions of, so she has listed those out for you. We have a specialized reading program. A couple of teachers just went to a SAU training for, they went for, I think, 3 days, and somebody provided training for like $30 for them to be able to do this most of it, which usually costs hundreds of dollars to get people trained in. So they're looking to purchase some of the reading program that goes with the specialized reading. It's a specialized reading program for students in learning difficulties. And then a couple of new furniture equipment that we need for a student that is going from the preschool into kindergarten, as well as so 2 adaptive chairs and mushy seating, which I think is the actual word. I think it's actually called mushy seating. I don't think she couldn't come up with the word, so just made it out. But you can probably Google it. So this is, Lisa McConnell has asked us to present this evening.
The total, I'm sorry, I give you a total for that page too. That total is $4,876.
4,876.
Correct. And the last page is actually for this room, with the approval of the new STEM location, STEM lab. The idea is to, because the library currently uses that smart board on a regular basis, the idea would be to set up a new one here. So this would be for a new whole setup. What is over there to be added to right here.
But the more updated one, students can actually use their fingers on the one that currently Pembroke has one. I think only one of them in their library. But they're slowly starting to replace all of them with this one. So this bid was actually from Josh, who I think. So I don't know who Bill is, but
They work together.
okay, yeah. So that was there. We're just I think it's updated. This is from last May, so there might be a little more expensive, but that's approximately this.
What's the size of this?
We're going to teach them how to stand still.
My question was going to be
This will be redesigned as part of
reworking of
the whole
There is no such thing.
You know what is going to be a problem? Is those 3 light switches right there.
Yeah.
We're going to have to move the electricity.
Bob and Mike can do that. No problem. No problem. That's all he says. So.
Crazy.
That's all I'm looking like that.
As long as it doesn't look like up like that.
That will definitely happen.
So do you have a grand total for everything?
I'm doing it.
You're doing it?
So it's 1136 on the first page.
Oh yes, sorry. The first page, estimated total cost. It's hard to read on your page. Sorry, it's $1,444.41. That's with shipping.
1,000 what?
$1,444.41.
That would be for 4 tables.
That would be for 4 tables.
The special education materials, those are non-budgeted items.
Are you talking about the 1920 school year?
Yes.
That was a very good question.
Are we jumping the gun on them, or is it stuff we have in the budget for this year?
I remember when Lisa came on board as a brand new special ed administrator, she did not have a handle on what we had, and once the new version of the special ed tests come out, you only have so long before you have to replace them, and you can't use them anymore.
Okay.
And that would be a huge hit to her budget next year, so it would be better to get them now.
9350.
For everything?
Everything.
And that includes the special ed page? Okay. And so that would be out of fund balance?
Yep.
move an amount of $93.15 from 1819 fund balance for the items presented tonight.
Second. Discussion. All in favor? Yes, Mr. Oxnard.
What if moving the electrical is going to take another few thousand? I mean, that's going to go into. That's not an easy. We're just assuming that it's going to work out. And
Those electrical stretches.
How big is the new screen?
Probably.
Roughly the same size.
Yeah. I'm looking around, that's not the only open wall, I don't know if that matters. Nobody's using their computer, but
I guess really why I'm asking that is my concern is creeping into the library, and I'd like to protect it without having even, as far as I know, we haven't chosen a librarian yet, but having input from the librarian on how do you see the space being used if we're now doing STEM stuff throughout the whole library? And
No, that would become that board would become part of the STEM.
This is for the library.
This is for the library.
That right
That's
now
for the STEM.
That's the library.
But we're not putting up a wall.
We're putting
bookshelves.
Right. And the idea is to be able to use that STEM lab
While we're having a library class in here.
it has been discussed.
Reducing space for the library.
What's that?
Reducing space for the library.
Reworking space.
Reworking space.
In fact, I just, as a quick aside, took a trip over to Concord High School and walked in, and that's basically what that was thinking about was. Over here is our STEM lab, and over here is our library. It is becoming part of
I've heard some critical evaluations of the Concord arrangement and how they have not really much of a working library anymore because it's become more of a STEM lab. So from some parties, they're not looking at Concord's library as a paragon of. Yeah, correct. But I'm not running the school, so okay. Right.
comes out of the library and goes into
Any additional discussion? The motion for 93 was
Yep.
all in favor?
Aye.
Policies. Oh no, curriculum review. Excuse me.
We've had 2 meetings over the last 3 weeks since our last meeting, and in that time we've had a lot of wide-ranging discussions, very good discussions. And so the one last meeting, which was a few weeks ago, was about, so first we heard the technology curriculum was presented that we saw earlier tonight, and we thought that looked very good. The rest of that meeting was about looking at our assessments, looking at the testing that we have been using for years, and just making sure that throughout the school, the various modes of testing and various assessments that students are taking are all necessary, are not redundant, are all being used appropriately by faculty, and therefore are a valuable use of student time and curriculum time. And that's an ongoing discussion that will be going into next year's program as well. Then the meeting a couple days ago was about the science curriculum, and that a lot of work has gone into the science curriculum over the past couple of years for a number of reasons. It's a different animal than a lot of the curricula that we've talked about, and when you see it, I think it's coming to our next meeting. We did approve it. I think has a slightly different appearance than some of the other curricula that we've seen, but at the same time, it is, I think, a good first attempt at unifying and tying up all of the different approaches that different teachers and different grades are taking to the science curriculum. It's kind of now becoming more unified as a way of moving our students from K to 8. And Chris Matika has played a large role in that, and is drawing from experience with other schools in the district, and I think it's a good idea as a way of starting place for that science curriculum. But we should be seeing it next meeting here, I think. Did I miss anything?
Say that again.
Did I miss anything? 2 meetings. Those were the key things.
Just to clarify the question, because we brought up in public comments, the assessments being reviewed by the curriculum board. Can you talk a little bit about how that usually, is it typical for the curriculum board to deal with what assessments are going on?
So one way to answer that question is how typical is a curriculum board? And in our SAU, we are the only one. And so of our 5 districts, we're the only school district that has a curriculum review board. And the history of it in this building is really interesting, and it predates the whole state getting involved in, prescribing the Common Core, whatever the state is, And so it used to be very empowering to the teachers to have this board as a way of looking at what the school is doing. And over the years, its function has shifted, but I would make the argument that it's a valuable body that you can't really have curriculum without using instruction to measure, without using assessment to measure instruction. It's all tied together, and to try to separate them into different silos, I think, is artificial and not valuable.
And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but the people that make up, I used to sit on it before Mr. Motika came on board. I think the people in that group are the people that look at our assessments and administer our assessments and are in charge of that. So I think they wanted to use the rest of the board, their peers and that represent the entire school, to run things by them, to show them, to ask for expertise and opinions. And it was brought up that Mr. Motika should be part of the assessment work, and he is sitting on that committee.
So it is a meaningful and useful review of the assessments, but the final determination on the assessments lies with the administration. So just wanted to clarify that.
But it was good to get that feedback from some key stakeholders. That it was hard to get those people together for a meeting, and it was just a great avenue to go through to get that feedback.
Were they looking at our more standardized and normed assessments, or were they looking at assessments directly related to the curriculum and competency assessments?
Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say everything. I mean, we have all, and there are many tests that, not many, but there are some that are either not, maybe to some extent could be more effectively coordinated between teachers in the same grade level, and that happens partly because different teachers are doing different chunks of the curriculum at different times during the year. And so then if there's a testing window, let's say in whatever, October, November, different teachers are maybe dealing with different units, and so they kind of have different sort of modes of the test that they're giving, and is that data really coordinated as well as it could be? This was specifically about the writing samples that they were talking about.
Right.
So it's that sort of thing, but they were looking at all kinds of tests.
We were talking about dibbles, it wasn't, the kindergarten wasn't finding the data useful in their planning instruction. It wasn't useful. They had another tool that was more useful, and so Kristen Davis worked with her across the board, as well as Liz McGovern, and talked to every single grade level and said, do you use this, do you use this, do you use this, is this useful, is this good information? The writing prompts was the biggest conversation in terms of what data does that bring going into the next school year, sharing that. They felt that having a pre and post from the Lucy Hawkins writing program that they're using was much more effective than just doing a random write that kids would just have to sit and write. So it was a very useful conversation. So that it was just ELA we weren't looking at now. We just looked at ELA. Math is I think pretty narrowed down. With the STAR testing was discussed as well, and so.
All right, any other questions? Policies. DAF, Administration of Federal Grant Funds, first reading.
So if you've had a chance to look at the policies, DAF is, I think, 17 pages long. The reason that this policy was developed is because this year the state started doing audits. So they were audited, and the federal government said, you're supposed to be auditing the schools, so they need to start auditing us. We were one of the lucky chosen few across the state who had all of our grant programs audited. And a citation that we received, that everyone received, was our policies do not meet the requirements of the federal grants. So while it might meet the state law, our policies might meet state law, there needs to be things added to them because we are recipients of federal funds. So the School Boards Association attorney did his best to go through, was very helpful to us when we said, hey, we need some help, we don't know even where to start with this. And he developed this very comprehensive section of policies this. Amber's reviewing it right now, so she's trying to make sure that the policies make sense for our SAU and there aren't anything that's conflicting with our current practices. She's looking to see if she thinks there should be anything that she would want to recommend adding. So it just needs to be on here for a reading. That's part of our compliance to them, was to let them know we were going to be bringing these policies before the school board. That's part of our corrective action. So I will give you updates if and when we have them, but that's why you have this huge package of policies.
Uber policy.
Alright. EHAB, data governance, second reading.
Yep, and that's the new, we talked about the new HB 1612 with student data and privacy, and this is just for a second reading, and this is being recommended for the entire SAU based on, like I said, HB 1612.
Were there any changes? Anybody come up with any suggestions on this one? Seeing none, we could adopt it tonight, or do you want to push it to a third reading?
I could use one more reading.
I've been scolded for trying to move things on a second reading before.
Okay.
EFAA, school nutrition meal payment policy.
I haven't received anything yet, but if anyone has anything, if you get it to me right away, because that's a regulatory policy, so I would need to have changes looked at.
Is there,
Sorry, but while you're pausing to have a thought fully formed there, the website myschoolbox.com, is that right? Because I'm pretty sure we use one meal.
So that's probably what the sample policy references. What's it reference? What is that?
fifth paragraph, second line.
And actually, I would recommend we take that website out so that we don't have to do further maintenance. Just, it says we use a point of sale computerized payment system, which has an account for all students.
Yeah, you don't need.
We don't need to identify the. Yeah, perfect. Okay, great, thank you.
We, how have we been with, like, the reporting in relation to the current policy? And
Are we more up to date with overdue?
with delinquencies, I guess, are we?
Do you know where we're at with that?
We were not in good shape at all. I know a lot of letters went out, but I haven't heard on what the collection has been as a result of those
I
letters.
mean, the $10 letter, a $10 letter. In all fairness, if you've got two kids in the school, they're there.
A couple of days.
They're there in a day, or, 2 days. But
We had changed that.
in the previous policy,
Yeah.
and I can't remember the dollar amount off the top of my
We moved
head.
it to like $25.
But were we even sending the letters home at a $25 balance?
No, we have not been.
I think we can be better at whatever that number is, and I think that will help alleviate a lot of the.
That's also something
I mean,
that
I still I just got email saying I have a $14 balance.
Oh, you can pay up at the door on your way out.
I paid $5.
Settle up on your way out the door.
Letters are going out to what extent, or I'm not
I
sure.
don't think they're automatically being prompted. And you might want to just check and see if there's, because that's a pretty easy automation.
Yeah, I mean, we get automatic notices for,
Because you signed up to be on the online.
yeah.
So maybe that's the second half of it, is maybe we just need to help families understand how to opt into either signing up.
You have to
those.
pay to use the online service. So that's an undue, for some people, that's an undue burden.
I'll declare ignorance and say that Ashley takes care of it, so I've never looked at, seen, or thought
So
about
there's a registration, like, user fee for the online service, which that has a lot more communication to it.
Okay.
So
Is there a way we can,
just sponsor everybody so that it all works. But no, I mean,
can we negotiate with that supplier to just pay a fee so that everybody's on the same system? Because if that fee keeps more people current. If we absorb the fee, but we keep 90% current, we're well ahead.
yeah, I think, I don't know.
Do you
Big,
know
good
what
question.
the fee is?
I think it's like a $10 or $15 sign-up fee.
One time?
Yeah, it was annoying. Basically.
But
But for some people, that's not just annoying.
But does that get you through? Is that the one, like you register once and you have, your kids are here for 8 years and they're covered and they're good?
Yeah.
It's not per year.
No, it's like a family account management setup fee.
So you're potentially talking, if it, say it was $10 one time, that's a $500 expense, but that $500 expense keeps everybody notified the moment they go delinquent, and it may allow us to release it. $10 on 50 kids is $500.
Every year, he's saying, going forward.
No, the kindergarten.
Oh, you just do it every year. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought you were.
I think that would then require them to put money into the account though. They would have to do their business online. And some people may not want to do that. You'd have to use the system in order for it to work.
Right, but couldn't, if they sent the check, and couldn't we, and again, I'm claiming total, can't we just say we received the check and there's $50 on the account?
I think.
So are we tracking two independent systems?
Hold on. I think what we can do is say, let's pay attention to the accounting and move on.
Let's pay attention to the accounting and move on.
Thank you.
How often does Amber check up on it? Is that not really Amber? I know once in a while she does.
It's not Amber, because there's someone at the SAU that oversees it, Christine.
Yes.
I don't know the answer to that.
All right. So JCA, we've tabled that?
Yep.
And we continue to table that?
Yep.
Okay. Informational items.
The management letters for the audit came in, so you have copies of those for your bedtime reading. And then the Southern New Hampshire Planning Commission sent the contract today. We had talked about letting Jim be the negotiator of the timeline. The draft was not going to be ready for August because they were concerned about the availability to meet with people over the summer. So they asked for that date to be moved to September, but did commit to having it done in October. So that's all set.
Good negotiator.
It was fantastic. I had so much to do with it.
Yeah. Can I, I guess just a public informational note, Kristen mentioned it briefly, but the Girls on the Run program, their 5K they had, I can't say how wonderful that program is, and thank you for having it here at the school and helping to facilitate that. I ran it with my daughter for the second time, and every single time I'm blown away by just how remarkable that program is. So thank you for supporting that here at the school. For the girls.
Anything else informational?
Yeah.
Anything else informational? Going once, going twice. Public comments. Seeing as there are none, non-public session as per NHLSA 91-A:3, we are B.
A and B.
A and B. I would entertain a motion to go into non-public.
So moved.
Second. Ken? Yeah. Gigi? Jim? Yes? Zach?
Yeah.
At 8:45, we are going into non-public. We are out of non-public at 10:03.
Move to seal the minutes in non-public.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I would entertain a motion to nominate Rachel Samia as a teacher at the community school.
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
I would entertain a motion to nominate Sally Hyman as a teacher at Deerfield Community School.
So moved.
Second.
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I would entertain a motion to nominate Michael Trong as a music teacher at Deerfield Community School.
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
There was a staff leave request. All in favor of the staff leave request?
We need a motion.
I would need a motion.
I move to approve the staff leave request.
I'll second it.
All in favor? All opposed?
Yay.
I would like to authorize the superintendent. I would like a motion to authorize the superintendent to renegotiate Brian Griggs' contract to a length of 2 years, including previously agreed upon benefits, and adding a clause authorizing his children can attend the community school.
So moved.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Entertain a motion.
So move to adjourn.
All in
Aye.
favor?
Aye.
10:04.
What, top of the 5 or?
Long one.